Hey everybody, this is Damien working solo today. George, my partner in crime, his parents got into a car accident. We hope they're okay. Thoughts and prayers going out to them, and we'll let you know as soon as they are updated. As soon as we know what's going on. Again, I'm your host, Damien Ross from the Self Defense Company, and welcome. It is a lovely Thursday, May 12th, and I want to thank you guys for joining. And today, the topic of the day is got a lot of some other stuff to unpack, but the main topic was my daughter's racist apartment, and I say that tongue in cheek. So, if you don't know, my daughter goes to school out in California. I'm all the way on the East Coast, so it's a bit difficult at times because again she is a complete country away. um Frustrating for us, especially me being me, but I would imagine my concerns are no different than any other parent that sends their kid off to school. Again, we just don't have the convenience to just see her, after a car ride. So it gets a little frustrating for us. So we had an incident earlier this year at her current apartment. Nothing came of it, but she had a close call. But she listens to what she's been told, and she is aware of her surroundings, and she was able to avoid it. Again, I'm going to say double standard here. If this were my son, I would have a different reaction to a lot of this. But my daughter, as tough as she is, she's only, 120 pounds at best. Keeps herself in great shape, but she's a smaller human being. So um, there's always concerned. There's always concern. Again, like every other parent. So story was this: lease is coming up. She's looking to move. She's moving in with her and her boyfriend. They have a. They're looking for a new place within their budget. Um, they found something, and on paper it looked really good. And I'll show you some of the pictures that we had. It's a complex. There's actually two buildings for this. So I have ones from the website. They're not of the exact complex, or actually of the complex next door to it. But they're basically the same thing. They're just the complexes are different colors. They're in the same area. So the current place she's in is in a fantastic area. It's very safe. Um, she was looking really to stay within her budget and didn't look a dollar above it. That's to her credit. She was given an assignment and she went and got it. Obviously, we're not out there constantly, so we can't do all. The only due diligence we can do is online. So she found the place, and we flew out there last week to spend some time with her and to take a look at her apartment and help her, make a decision and just to put a seal of approval on this thing. So when I show you the pictures, this should be coming up now. Let me just check. Okay, great. Okay, so you see, nice tennis courts. Um, there's the entranceway again, very typical. This is there's a pool. It's the outside. Going back to, and then the inside of the apartments. Sorry about that. I'm bouncing around. Um, yeah. Again, the inside of the apartments are very nice. This is all, it was clean. She went and saw the apartment. She went inside the apartment, loved it, whole bit. So fine. Now, again, this is anyone who's done any amount of traveling knows a lot of times the pictures in the hotel and the pictures in the apartment aren't necessarily, what it is. I mean, we were looking at the first thing my wife does is she goes to the reviews, and there were some instances with the uh, some bugs, some mold, and there were the usual things, and then we noticed some other things where the security wasn't great. The gate, one of the gates, as I'll show you, was open constantly, and there's a homeless issue out there, and there were people going through the dumpsters. There were people that were on the property that shouldn't have had access to it, uh, and that was our first red flag. Our second red flags came when we actually went to visit the apartment, and I'll show you what we saw on Google Earth, and that's what raised our concerns and almost promised me a 12 months of never sleeping again. Holy crap. But again, it wasn't like people were getting shot in the street, but there's certain things you can look for um, when you're finding a safe space, and just they attract a certain type of person. And when I use the term racist apartment, my daughter um, brought up the concern because most of the people we saw there were people of color, and that really has zero to do with our assessment. Our assessment has to do with what type of businesses are around and the level of security on the unit. So when I go to let me just stop. Okay. So I'll pull up the Google Earth and I'll show you exactly what we're talking about. Okay, share. All right, good. Google Earth. Okay, so this is actually the apartment complex she's looking at. The other one is next door here, where the pictures of. Again, we saw she took video of the interior of this apartment. It was fine, totally fine. So when we come out to the street, let me just get here. Woohoo! Google Earth. Okay, here's the apartment building. Yeah, no big deal. Again, I will say when we went there, they were cleaning it. I saw active maintenance people working on the property, so that was a good sign. The pool was clean. The people at the pool were enjoying it. It wasn't an issue. Started to have an issue with was the businesses located across the street. Again, it's cliche, but it's a fact. Liquor store right across the street from where you live typically doesn't necessarily mean, especially when you're in a suburb, doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad neighborhood, but it's not really a great sign. There's check cashing in here, which is a huge red flag. Um, so when you see these places that are typical targets of crime, liquor stores, check cashing places, places that are open 24 hours, convenience stores. This is somewhat of a concern because it attracts people who may consider knocking one of these things over. So looking across the street now the main entrance, I will say, oh, let me move over. Cool. When you pull up to it, Google Earth doing its thing. All right. So when you pull up to it, the main gate was it was closed. It was secure. We couldn't, we needed to get buzzed in, which was fine. I could get to this. Let me just see if I could move this out. All right, come on. There we go. Taking you on a tour. Okay, this was the main office area. You pull in, this was customer parking here. You could, you couldn't get in without somebody letting you in. Again, not a problem. The real problem came here as we were looking at the parking garage, and this is something to seriously consider when you're looking at an apartment. When you have underground parking garage. Uh, One, if there aren't, it's only as good as access to it. I'm gonna have to go a little. Hold on, bear with me, people. Let me just get out of this for a second. Okay. So the access to the apartment is only as good as its secure level of security. So parking garage is underneath here. There were no cameras present on the property, and you can see here. Oh, back. Okay. See this gate wide open, and I don't know when this was taken, but it was wide open when we got there. So I know Google Earth isn't constant, so this is no security. And my daughter's boyfriend works a lot. He comes home around 9, 10 o'clock at night or later sometimes because he's a full-time student and he works full-time. So that is a huge concern. Um, and then across the street here, there's another strip mall. And yeah, the green room, this is a spa, quote unquote. Um, I don't exactly know what kind of spa it is, but again, we're could it be a place that offers massage? Could it be that places that offer um, full massage? Possibly. I wasn't waiting to find out. The overall vibe of the place was just a tiny little bit sketchy. Now, I'll say that I don't. Again, could she have moved there and been gone without issue for her entire stay? Yeah, of course, possibly. But again, when we're looking at what we're going to expose ourselves to, and the places, especially the places we choose to live, it's different that if I'm doing it or if my son were doing it, but now my daughter's doing it. And I know we like to think that, you know, people are equal and should have, the same rights and all that stuff. And that's absolutely positively true. But the reality is, women, especially, smaller, she's my daughter's not big and she's attractive. So, guys, let's not ignore reality here. There's a chance she would get targeted. Fact. You know, Now, do skinny, attractive people get attacked more than large, unattractive people? I don't know that answer. I don't think that's the. I don't know where that statistic kind of easy for me to say. I don't know where that statistic exists, but I would venture to say that yes. So why would I put my daughter in a situation where there's a potential for this to happen? So now, when my wife and I start making this case to our daughter, she again is like a lot of people. She was, why? Because there were, people of color there. Why? Because, it was not in, it was in a different area. I go, yeah, it was in a different area. I don't give a shit who lives there. You could have, they could have been white, purple, whatever. It's like we're looking at, the level of security on the building, and we're looking at the businesses that are around there that generally aren't in higher end places. Yeah, do higher end places have liquor stores? Yeah, they're like wine stores, right? They're not discount liquor stores. What I wouldn't want my daughter being next to a bottle king. So, this is again who's coming here, and it's just kinds of areas of that not necessarily that not exact not even the patrons themselves, also the people who work there. You know, Again, convenience stores, check cashing places are like the most ripped off places on the planet. So why put yourself in these positions? And it's the same thing when you're walking down the street and you see a group of people that, give you an off vibe. I know the righteous person in us wants to say, you know what? I'm not racist, even if they're different color, but they don't have to be. They can, be acting and looking in a certain way that, would just cause your instinct to kind of trigger. And some people view that instinct as some form of racism, and it's nonsense. So you need to dismiss that. You know, forget it. Forget it. Okay, i- your intuition is telling you something is wrong on a subconscious level. So when we do this, and and when I tell people during training, is that when you're coming up a group of people, act like you went the wrong way, right? Or look at your watch or look at your phone and be like, and just to change your direction, right? It looks like you have a reason to move. Don't look at them and be like, uh-oh, and take off. Add a little acting in there. I know my daughter's going to acting school, so she should be good at this. So anyway, um, that's it. That's it. Don't put yourself in positions where you feel that you're going to do something to offend somebody you don't even know, right? So err on the side of caution. So as I said, my daughter was stuck on this, her budget, but literally for like $140 more a month, we found her a place across the street, literally across the street, same neighborhood. Um, the parking situation is actually better because it's an open parking lot that's in the center of the development. So everybody can look out of their apartments down into the parking structure in the parking area, which is great because now you've got eyes on you, you know, while keeping your car underneath a building, unless it's like hyper secure, because we saw another one where it was like an automatic park thing where you just put the car in, press a button, it goes down and it's gone and you're never exposed, and it's you could tell the place was uptight and out of sight. But that gate being open, and stairs, no cameras, you know any hour, could have been could have run in, who knows? Who knows? So, you know, looking for places, security, especially around your vehicle, is paramount, paramount. Because that's where you're going to be most distracted. That's where you're going to be, you're getting in and out of your car. You've got keys, you've got bags. You're not necessarily, you'll see people walking around if they're not, looking like they're going to and from a vehicle. You really need to pay attention to things. The other things I suggest is go if you're thinking about is looking at a location. And I learned this when I was doing bodyguarding, is to go to you have an event and you go to that street and you go to it at different times during the day. You go to it in the morning, you go to it in the afternoon, you go to it in the evening or at night. So you can see how it changes. Like if you've got if you're in a corporate, if there's a lot of businesses around there, 9 to 5, 7 to 6, there's going to be people. But then all of a sudden, come 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, it's a ghost town, right? And now you're working your way to your apartment. That could pose a problem. So, you know, things to consider: what type of businesses are around there? What's the security situation? Do they have security? A lot, security guard. How can you get in the gates? The other apartment that you went to, we couldn't even get in there to go check out the pool without somebody escorting us in. And you could tell the grounds were again kept up. The gate was in fully functioning. Um, so you walk into these places and your instinct will tell you, okay, this is good. This is good. Again, who you are has a lot to do with it. Being a athletic male has less of a shot than of being attacked than someone who is not. That's just how it is. So, needless to say, hey, Giovanni, how are you, brother? Holy shit. So, one of our instructors from Brazil, I went down there and taught, had an amazing time. Awesome, awesome people, fantastic. Awesome to hear from you, Gio. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Dude, I dropped your name. There was a couple MMA fighters that I saw out at the SHOT Show, and they're like Brazil, they're Brazilian. And to be honest, I couldn't. They told me their names, I forgot them. And the other, I was talking to a guy who was friends with them. Was a law enforcement, Rosas, and I asked him for their names, and he never got back to me. But yeah, so I was thinking about you not too long ago, my friend. Not too long ago. Awesome. So yeah, so when you're when you're looking at these places, just you know, uh, trust your instinct, please. Don't abandon exactly what you're looking for. Don't abandon what what your gut tells you. So, one of the other things I wanted to talk about today is I'm sure everybody saw the Chappelle tackle. I mean, heck, right? Um, I don't. I still to this day, for those of you who don't know, and I'll put the clip up in a second. Chappelle was on stage at the Hollywood Bowl. Coincidentally, I was out there at the same time, and we drove by the Hollywood Bowl like a day or two later. Not that that means anything. It was just I thought it was interesting. So, um, those of you who don't know, Chappelle was on stage performing, and someone who describes himself as homeless uh, had made mention on Twitter that Dave Chappelle, you're next, and gained access to excuse me, to the event while he had a gun. No, he had a knife that was disguised in a gun. Um, I don't know, why. I could see having a gun disguised as a knife, right? I'm like, yeah. So, but a knife disguised as a gun, I don't know. So either way, he had this bizarre weapon, and he brought it into him with the brought it into him within the venue. So one, I don't know how he got in the venue. Two, I don't know how he got on stage so closely. Um, there's a lot of things that are going on. I'd work security a lot, arena security when I was in college. We had metal detectors. We had different gates. You needed passes to get access to certain areas. Um, so all I could think it was there's obviously nothing's perfect, and there's a breakdown of security. So I'll share with you the her clip. And yeah, Gio, definitely I want to come back to Brazil. Awesome, awesome time. Be my honor to do that. So it's hard to find the whole video, but actually we did. So let me just see here, pause. All right. So bear with me, people. I'm gonna just blow this up and unmute. All right.
Behind me on the.
All right. So let me just see if what we're sharing. Okay. Now, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think Dave has any training, but he's not a small dude. He's not like Chappelle Show anymore. So, again, here you have someone who doesn't know. You got two people, who really aren't trained in anything. You notice how out of breath Dave was after that? Because your adrenaline kicks in and you're like, holy crap. And it sucks the energy out of you. If you've never had that feeling, it's frightening. It's frightening. So, you know, he's in an element where the last thing is expecting is somebody to run on stage and attack him. And what that guy's plan was, his attacker, God only knows. So they found the weapon on him. He didn't have the weapon out, um, and he really didn't look like he knew what the hell he was doing. So, you think about these things, and it's like here you have somebody, and this is what happens. You've got somebody who, this guy's homeless, and again, he still is homeless. He has a phone and a Twitter account, and just pretty incredible. I don't know how that happens anymore, but you've got a guy who has nothing to lose, and then you've got somebody who has got everything going for him, and he probably, I think the guy was homeless. I think he may have been, a homosexual, or questioning his. I think his pronouns are like them, they, and whatever they are. So whatever. I mean, he's got some type of sensitivity to that movement, and he obviously didn't hear Chappelle's, or didn't pay or didn't listen to it, Chappelle's bit on it, because anybody who did, would know that it was basically an homage to a trans friend of his who committed suicide because that person was pushed over the edge by the LGBTQ whatever we're doing now community, who was pissed off at them for being even friends with Dave. So that's what happened. And that was part of his, and that was his bit, and it was very complimentary. But just the fact that it, talked about somebody trans, you're not allowed to talk about that, the whole freaking thing. So we know where we are with that. I don't need to get into it. Bottom line is, this guy was triggered to do something completely stupid and reckless, and it could have gone really, really bad. The guy was, he had the weapon, he was thinking about it, right? This goes to every altercation you get into. You don't know who this person is. So you must assume they've got intent, they've got ability, and they've got they've got the conviction to do the worst to you. I mean, anyone who puts you in physical harm like that has no regard for your well-being, no regard uh for your safety. So, when I see this stuff, and then I hear, the reactions, I think every look, I honestly, I think it was, I think the beat, Kevin Hart was right. He quoted, he's like, I think that beatdown was necessary to kind of put people back in their freaking place. It's like, you can't do this. You can't. I mean, these are, you're looking at people who, these are, human beings, and you have to have respect for who they are, and their right to express themselves in a certain way. Anyway, disagree with me. I've got friends that disagree with me. That's okay. That's okay. And if anything, anybody lived through this pandemic, I mean, it was whatever, there's vax, unvax, mask, unmask. It's like, look, I'm like, you had to like really test your tolerance, really test your tolerance. And that's what I think people are missing. And that's where, there's a combination of that, and nobody's got respect for violence. I mean, anybody who's encountered violence in their real life, anybody who's, served in a forward unit in the military, anybody who's, gone through a door, anybody who has been in some type of fight, anybody who's trained and fought, you know, respects violence. And these people don't. They don't. They get their information from what they see in movies and TV, and that's what they're. That's their. It's okay. I'm doing this, and they feel that because you say something that's contrary to them, that's an act of violence, and that's dangerous. It's very dangerous. And our ability to say something, my ability to say something to piss you off, and your ability to say something back to me to piss me off, is what this country's based on. So, when you go to when you go to other countries, I mean, I have factory in China, I've got factory in Pakistan, I got, places all over the, people all over the world that I talk to and I deal with. They, by their own admission on encrypted lines, will say, yeah, well, it's the press put this out, but no one believes it. I'm talking to a manufacturer in China. Yes, we just don't get some stuff from there. Um, they're like, yeah, man, the press said this about COVID, but nobody believes it. And that's just basically the general consensus. I mean, the individual person is not stupid. It's just that they don't have the ability to form groups, to, lack of a better term, rise up and express their opinion because all the information is controlled. So now we're in a world where people the good news is that most of the people who are doing this shit, like this knucklehead, don't know how to fight. All right. It makes them a little less dangerous, but even a blind squirrel finds a nut. Right. I mean, they decide, okay, I don't like the way you look. I don't know, you're wearing a MAGA hat or whatever, and somebody wants to just come up and hit you in the head with a brick because they believe in their heart of hearts, when their level of insanity, that you're some type of racist, you know, white supremacist. It's redundant, but that's freaking real. And I think most people in the middle, like us, because if you asked me, and I was going to be like, I mean, am I conservative? Yeah, on some things, but then not on others. So, I don't prescribe to, one way or the other, right? So it's just like I go with what makes sense to me, and I care about the people who are my family and my community. That's what I really care about, the people who are in my life. And as I do right by them, great. I mean, I don't care what, some random group and whatever is doing. You won't catch me at a protest. I just don't. Just don't put myself in those situations. I mean, the people that do, I mean, God love you for, doing what you feel is real. But hell, man, I know what happens if I get into a situation where I'm forced to protect myself or my family. And I try to avoid that as much as possible, because the end result is, potentially someone getting hurt or worse, either me or you, right? So, I just don't want to do it, and I avoid it at all costs. And I think most people think like that. Most reasonable people think like that. People who don't understand firearms, people who don't understand, training, uh, they automatically think because you study violence that you're a violent person. And in reality, the opposite is true. In reality, you're looking to avoid because you know the cost. You know what can potentially happen. You could get injured and miss work for weeks. You could lose your job. You could be, maimed in such a way where you're no longer functioning as a full human being. You could be affected for the rest of your life. So when these things happen, yeah, there's got to be a better way for us to, um, for people to understand this. And I think as we get older, I mean, as we graduated, as we develop as a civilization, I think what's happened is that, um, we're such a we don't like violence so much, and liking violence is not the word. It's like we don't want to deal with violence so much. We want to ignore it and eradicate it from our lives. And the reality is, you can't. It's part of human nature. So what you need to do is understand it and respect it, and have, and try to avoid it at all times possible. Now, there are people who will, you know, uh, lost my train of thought. Yes, there are people again who will, tell you, who will tell you that, all violence is bad. I mean, yeah, violence is bad. We don't like violence, but violence is necessary. Like the late Richard Jenny once said, violence never solved anything, but it sure stopped a lot of shit. So, um, yeah, I just, what's happening now. I mean, the upside for most of us, or people who are on here, Take your listeners, take their personal safety seriously. You do something about it. You're proactive about it. You study, you practice, you're aware. The good news is most people on here are, they just want to go about their lives and be not, they don't want to be bothered. Right. I mean, I just don't want to be bothered. I want to go, I want to run my business. I want to work out. I want to, see my family. I don't want to be bothered. So, the problem is, it's like when you're telling me that I have to care and I don't have to do shit. But, you know, and the fact that you care so, I care so much about so many things that nobody cares about. I'm not mad that you don't care about that. And I'm not mad that I think you should care about that. Do I think everybody should have body armor with them when they go out in public? Yes. Do I think everybody should be armed and trained? Yes. Do I sit there and get mad at you because you don't? No. But I know one thing's for sure. You're coming to me when the shit hits the fan. That's happened throughout my life. Oh, yeah. Oh, don't worry. We got Damien. Oh, yeah. Thanks. Thanks. Because that's what I do it just for you. So, one more thing I want to show you. It's funny because it's not funny. I'm sorry. I got a fucked up sense of humor. So, they said Florida man. The title is Florida Man Shot to Death by Brazen Killers. And this is clearly a hit. So, when people ask, like, they'll ask me shit. Oh, let me show it first. So, here. All right. So, let me just pull it up full screen for y'all. All right. Here we go. I love Brazen Killers. So, guys are creeping. Yeah, dude. This is a hit. So one guy crept up on him, put a round in him, and then the other guys followed up. There's no plates on this car. Yeah, it's tinted out and it's done. So when people ask me, and I think we should, yeah, we should, let's watch it again because, this isn't a random situation. This person was specifically targeted. So, got one guy walking up. He's got his hand in his sweatpants. He's got his hand on his firearm. Right. So he's getting up close and personal. He already put a round in him. These guys, he's coming out of line of fire. It's a little dicey. Wouldn't want to do that. But yeah, these guys, finished them, put more lead in them, and called it a day. So I'll actually get questions on this, like how to defend against this. And my immediate response is always, don't, if this happens to you, you're living a lifestyle that I can't help you with. This takes planning, preparation, and they got to know, where this guy's going to be. It's not random. That's like when people ask me, well, do you have level 4 body armor? I go, if you need like level 4 and above, I go, again, there's nothing I can do to help you. Who's coming after you with, a high powered sniper rifle? Again, that's peon. By the time you get hit, it's over. You're going to have time to pull that crap out. So that, I mean, you're looking at stuff where, again, this is not, the killers are brazen, but they're they're pros, man. They got paid to do a job. And that's that. I'm like, you cannot, I'm like, as a regular citizen going about your business, this will not happen to you. This will not happen to you. And if it were an active shooter situation, they wouldn't get in the car and go away. They'd go try to rack up some numbers. So, when again, like people ask me about, how to defend about that, I'm like, there's nothing you can do. I mean, well, again, other than pay attention. If you're in that life, you've got to have a hyper level of awareness that you can't afford to take a break when you go to the mall. I mean, you are, in that job, you're living that life. Like that's nothing I can do for you. You've already, made your decision, multiple decisions long ago. Long ago. You know, um, yeah. So again, I, operating in this world, again, people, obviously, pay attention to your instinct. I know we say this a thousand times. Don't, um, don't ignore that little voice in your head. Again, some good reading, Strong on Defense. It's an old book, but it's great. Um, Gavin DeBecker's Gift of Fear is excellent. Then, if you want to look at On Killing and On Combat by Grossman, does a lot of good stuff. And of course, again, our standard issue for reading for our instructors is Gates of Fire by Pressfield, but that's more of a cultural thing about the Spartan stand at Thermopylae. So, but getting back to all these guys talk about like Strong and DeBecker is being vigilant and paying attention and notice things. Trust your instinct. There's nothing that happens without some type of setup or size up. Nothing. People will say, "Oh, he came out of nowhere." It's like, no, he didn't. He was probably watching you for a good 15, 20 minutes. He wants to see, one, if you're alone, two, if you have something he wants, and three, if you can get away with it. So just knowing that they have to make that assessment actually gives you some power, right? I mean, even if it's a dumbass, even if it's just some dumb bar brawl, right? I'm like, again, somebody, you have you bump into somebody, steal somebody's freaking stupid parking spot. I mean, what triggers people today has always triggered them. It just seems that there's a heightened level of, oh, that's it. I'm going to do something about it. Where it's funny. It's like, the same people who, the same culture, I should say, not the same people who told you that all violence is bad and don't want you to have a firearm because you could kill somebody or hurt somebody, or they're dangerous and people die and all this other stuff. They're the same people who are attacking you for disagreeing with them. And I don't know, what does that tell you? Good people, I don't care if you're left or right, if you're a good person, you should be armed and you should be trained. You should know how to protect yourself and your loved ones. Because if you're a good person and I disagree with you, I'll still stand with you for your right to disagree. I think that's what most everybody's about. I'll argue. I mean, there's a lot of crap I don't know. I'll listen. I like getting my mind changed. It's true. Because that means I've learned something and I've evolved. So, all right. So, look, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Again, we're going to wish George and his family well. I'm going to give him a call as soon as we're done, as soon as I'm done here. If you if you want to train with us, go to myselfdefensetraining.com. You can start with a free course on there. We've got the new one-shot fight enders program, which is doing great. If you want to become an instructor, just go to myselfdefensetraining.com. Click on programs. You'll see the instructor program on there. Just give it a click. Fill out the application, and we'll actually, get down with you and talk to you, see if it's a good fit. It's like George or one of the other instructors will be your mentor, and they'll take you through step by step and, ups and downs, because there's a lot of them. That's how it works. And then finally, to take military grade armor with you every day, check out bulletproofbodyguard.com and the bodyguard backpacks. Yeah, we just got the new Switchblade line launched, and we're starting to move them. And yeah, they're actually we got some pretty cool stuff coming up. So again, thanks everybody for joining us. Gary, I see you. Thanks for posting. Gary Pickle, one of our instructors from Australia, just posted. Again, thanks for coming by. And until next time, train honestly.